Chris. I'm so happy you exist in the world. Thank
That's
you.
very kind of you to say. I'm very flattered.
Welcome to the Destination Workplace Show, a podcast that inspires CEOs, real estate, workplace, and HR leaders to create meaningful and purposeful employee experiences inside and outside of the office. My name is Nelly Hyatt, and I'm a work futurist. And I'm sitting down with leaders to talk about the future of the workplace, their vision and ambition for the next generation of employees, and how to have an impact.
My journey started in a very small village of less than 100 people in Ireland, and having gone to college and had set my sights of being, taking on the role my father had before and his father before him, I decided I wanted to do something different. And the depressed times of Ireland in the early 80s gave us no option. So I found myself in London, and I found myself becoming a property guy. And I did 13 years in what is now JLL. And that gave me some remarkable insights into commercial property. Then in the mid-90s, I got a very strange call one day from somebody with an American accent from your part of the world. And 17 interviews later, I found myself working for the Walt Disney Company. And then some years later, having traveled the world and becoming getting more and more responsibility, learning about things in Asia and learning a lot about the US, I found myself being asked to do something even bigger and to spend $2 billion for the British Broadcasting Corporation, and doing lots of big, complicated real estate stuff, but also learning about the importance of how real estate supports the business and creating the business strategy so that the real estate wasn't an expense line item. It was more of a value creator. And in the case of the business of the BBC, it was about helping them to be creative and to fulfill their public purposes. So I also got a lot of insight into, the really big picture stuff, how organizations operate, working with the CEO. And Mark Thompson moved on to be CEO of the New York Times, and he wrote the foreword for the book. And in it, he talked about hoping that the pandemic will give rise to a more rapid change to a better way of working, and dumping the old hierarchical mindset pervasive in the 20th century. For me, a personal view is how we make better use of the built environment to leave a better legacy. And that gave rise to writing the book, Where is My Office? And now what we've been seeing in the last year, 18 months, is a massive shift from fixed to fluid, and workplace strategy and our physical environment has been turned head over heels. And there's some really big questions out there, and it makes no sense to have this confrontational argument of you either come to work or you stay at home and all of that sort of stuff. The question's much wider, and it needs everybody, people in your part of the world, your generation in particular, you guys and girls are the leaders of the future, to enter into a bigger conversation to figure out what sort of life do we want for ourselves going forward? How can we continue to make money in a fair and equitable manner? And last but not least, how can we make the best use of our precious planet?
Yeah. In this book, do you is the ambition to empower the leaders who build offices to be more mindful as they build, like to build more sustainably, to build for human beings? Or is the ambition to make sure CEOs know the legitimacy of those leaders and empower them to make the best decision?
Both.
Okay.
The drivers for writing the book were about starting a process of creating and building awareness. And, our entire system of both consuming and providing commercial real estate is fundamentally flawed. It's not fit for purpose for the 21st century. In fact, the whole leasing system I talk about it in the book as a great example of the emperor's new clothes. Everybody thinks it's great, and then and COVID has brought that into stark reality, that we're providing all of these huge buildings. We probably have too many of them already. We're not using them to their fullest potential. And even the process we use to bring them about generates so much complexity unnecessarily and waste that you wonder, why do we ever do it like this?
When do you remember the day you had the illumination of, oh, the world could be different? The world shouldn't be this way. Our relationship with landlords and commercial real estate should be different. The way we approach employee experience should be different. Could you remember when that happened?
Oh yeah, 1989.
That was the year I was born.
There you go. You see, how about that for certain?
You designed the world for me, and I'm so grateful for that. You designed the experience of life for me and my generation.
Yeah. Around that time, I had realized that I didn't want to do traditional real estate work, and I persuaded my bosses that I wanted to go to New York and learn about tenant rep. And I was one of the first in Britain to do tenant rep. And I started to meet a lot of American computer companies. And I had the good fortune to meet a guy called Abe Darwish. And Abe is still around, and he used to work for a company called 3Com. He was their global head of real estate, and he was setting up the European network, and I got the opportunity of working with them. And we were talking about an American's view of the British leasing system. And I suddenly realized, oh my God, this is difficult, because I've referenced it in the book, that Abe was warned by the American British Chamber of Commerce, if you make a mistake in Britain, you get 25 years to pay for it, because leases then were 25 years, even for a little company starting up. And we got into it, and he asked me just to do an analysis of all the features of a lease in Britain compared to one in the US. And we had some great debates. And then, being an architect, he wanted to look at buildings and how, like at that stage, Britain was going to a low point in its design of commercial buildings, and they were pretty much all cookie cutter, dull and drab, and, barely serviceable. So I got a great learning on the art of office design, both interiors but it set me thinking about the system. And whilst everyone now is talking about office versus in the home, or office or working, going back to the office, I'm saying that what we should be looking at is our system for providing space, and the fact that consumers only had the ability to access commercial real estate either by buying a building or leasing a building, and yet the whole world has changed. Why can't we say, let's do a deal as an end user with a Tishman or a Boston Properties or whoever, and say, I want X thousand square feet in downtown San Francisco, and I want Y thousand in the suburbs, and I want Z thousand of local work hubs, and I want 5 years on this, and I want a year on that, and I want the rest on an on-demand basis. I also need some convene type, socializing space as well. And that's where many other sectors of the economy have been moving to for the last 10 years. And I think real estate needs to move along fairly smartly now.
Yeah. It is possible to reimagine the world that we have, and we're gonna work to transform the legacy, but it will be a better place for all of us to be.
It's worth fighting for.
Exactly. Yeah, it's worth fighting for. I have to stop here because we could go for another 1 hour long conversation.
And I look forward to further conversations.